Tom, how are you?
All right. Hey, Ethan, how are you?
Very good. Thanks for calling. You guys might remember Attorney Tom. Actually, we spoke with him. I don't know how long ago it was now. I mean, I have no concept of time. 1 year? Was it only 1 year ago?
Roughly a year. Yeah.
Tom, actually, you're quite active in the YouTube spaces. Is that right? I don't know how much you want to talk about other stuff you have going on.
Yeah, well, that's right. I started my own law firm in 2019, and when I started my own law firm, I very quickly realized that nobody was just going to give me business. So I started a YouTube channel, and that grew. I think I have 550,000 or so subscribers. Although I'm not making too much content recently.
You're busy now.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I love YouTube. I watch YouTube. Longtime fan of the show.
Tom is actually a consumer of our product.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's up to date.
Longtime e-recliner.
What?
There you go. See, I'm telling you, he's the real deal. Attorney Tom here.
You telling me we have lawyers in our audience?
Dude, we got more than lawyers. We got
nurses.
I have a brain surgeon in our crew.
Let's go.
Right, tomorrow? No?
Really
Yes.
Neuroscientist. Do you like pasta, Tom? May I start with that?
Pasta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Sure. Yes.
Good man.
There you go.
It's just that simple.
Well, no, it was a lukewarm. Like, if you sat down at an Italian restaurant, would you gravitate toward the pasta or maybe some of the, as they call the secondinis?
I get pasta at Italian restaurants fairly
yes.
frequently.
Yeah. Oh, so yes. He's one of us.
Listen, I've always stood as a monument of uniqueness. I've always marched to my own drumbeat.
True.
I'm a man of mystery and intrigue.
They're going to use this against you in court.
I'm definitely going to have to. Yeah, I'm going to be deposed. By the way, I'm going to be deposed, and I'm definitely going to have to explain why I don't like pasta.
Yeah, the jury's going to vote against you because of this.
Is that admissible, do you think? Can you think that if I got deposed and they asked me about my pasta preferences, that could be weaponized against me by the
We will protect you, Ethan. We won't let that happen.
Yeah,
we won't let
object.
Pasta dictate. Yeah.
We object.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom, so what are we up to? So people have been kind of talking, it's been floating around. Obviously, the filings have been public for a while, and people have noticed them, but I've yet to really dig into it because we're just kind of waiting for things to, more things to happen. We keep adding more and more companies. But at the heart of it is this. These giant tech companies, namely, the first one we sued was NVIDIA because they were the subject of this 404 article in which a ton of their internal combos were leaked. And there was some really incredible stuff there of them talking about scraping, YouTube videos, about I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't have the article. I want to be careful about what I said, but there's a lot of really incredible quotes in that about employees at NVIDIA scraping YouTube videos to train their AI models. In fact, there's them even saying, like, we have a blank executive approval to do. There was people like, is this legal? Being like, is this okay what we're doing? And then someone being like, we have blank executive approval to proceed. Like, it's just incredibly damning messages. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, that's right. I think what we've uncovered, the heart of this case, is that there appears to be a systemic belief with all of these AI companies that because YouTube videos are free to view on YouTube, and that's an important distinction, because they are free to view on YouTube, that means that they can just do whatever they please and scrape literally hundreds of millions of YouTube clips to train their AI, their text-to-video generative AI models, which they plan to make trillions of dollars on for free without compensating the underlying creators.
And I believe even in these leaked messages, they said something to the effect of that they're able to scrape 80 years of content in a day or something. Is that right? Is that stat
That's
correct?
right. Yeah, that's right.
So the volume that they're frankly stealing people's content off YouTube is staggering, and it's being used to mass train these AI models, various different models. All these different companies are using it to train their models. And like Tom said, they're gonna deploy these models to make trillions of dollars. They're learning to make YouTube videos. They could literally just replace real YouTubers. They're using our videos to train AI models that could just replace real YouTubers. And by the way, I've started seeing that. It's a little freaky. There's actually more and more of these AI fake influencers popping up that have fairly large followings that I'm noticing. But essentially, we are holding them accountable, right? For something that I believe they know is wrong. And they're kind of hedging their bets, as you say. And so this is something that we're doing on behalf of, all YouTube creators, and just in general to set a precedent that says, like, these companies that are scraping data endlessly from the internet, taking other people's, IPs, content, hard work, without compensating, without acknowledging, it's not okay. And this is, I feel like a fair shot at trying to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Ethan. And you mentioned it briefly, but just to reiterate, this is a class action.
Right.
You are the class representative. So you're not just suing on behalf of yourself, as we've talked about so many times. You're suing on behalf of all of the creators who were in these data sets that we've identified, that their content was scraped, and we believe it scraped illegally.
Yes, it's a class action lawsuit. I'm the class prez. For the first time in my life.
You're the elected class president?
I'm the guy.
That seems kind of unbelievable.
Yes, and by the way, so it's really not about the financial thing. If we win, everybody wins, right?
Sure.
It's not about that at all. In fact, I mean, and I look forward to so is this basically if we, for example, if we win in some form, everyone in these data sets, which is how many different creators are in these data sets? Hundreds of thousands, millions?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? And so, like, I personally in some of these data sets have up to 700 videos, which is a lot.
I'm looking at some data sets right now. H3 Productions has 146 videos in one, 155 in another, 24 in one, 189, 743 videos for the H3 podcast highlights, 283 videos in another. I mean, you're talking about,
Wait, I'm in
hundreds
those
of videos.
Yes.
Right.
Dan wants to be paid.
Yep.
Where's my compensation?
Well, that's the point. And it's not about the money, Dan. It's about holding them accountable.
I understand. So I'm learning about this in real time along with the audience for the most part. I mean, you've mentioned it that this was happening, obviously, but I haven't. So if let's say in a hypothetical world where you guys emerge victorious in this, would this be similar to other class action lawsuits that I've gotten checks from class action against previous employers and stuff? Would this be a thing where if you uploaded to YouTube in the last 15 years, would you be able to apply to get a cut of a settlement kind of thing?
No, it wouldn't work. What makes this lawsuit very interesting is we actually have the data sets that they've used.
We know who's been exploited.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. We know who's exploited. So it wouldn't be proper to say if you've uploaded a video in the last 15 years, you apply.
It's these specific people.
Right. Correct.
Right.
And again, there's a long way between here and there.
Absolutely.
Ethan and I have
understand.
talked. This
Yeah.
is, we're at the cutting edge of what we believe is right, fighting for what we believe is right. But I can promise you that these companies, and they already have, because we've been doing this for almost 6 months now, they've hired the best lawyers in the world, right? So there's a lot between here and there. But yeah, so that's how it would work.
And again, as you touched on, this is like a very cutting edge novel lawsuit. Because again, this is cutting edge novel technology. And it's a novel in terms of the amount that it's taking. It's novel in the amount of damage it can do. So it's treading a lot of new ground, and we're hoping that despite taking a novel approach to this lawsuit, that it will be acknowledged as, as correct and identifying, just because it's all new ground. So we shouldn't allow these tech companies to be able to massively exploit, because it's not been explored legally. So someone needs to do that.
For sure. And this is something I've been kind of following and thinking about a lot over the last couple of years. So I think it is pretty interesting that you guys are directly involved in something on this scale. I wonder, Tom, is there some aspects of this that are unique from the YouTube angle? You already mentioned the fact that they were trying to make an argument that because it was free on YouTube, that it was fair game. I know that there are other, I want to say somewhat similar cases out there from much bigger companies. Isn't Disney going after some people for training their data sets on Disney movies and stuff? And in those cases, obviously Disney, that's not free content. They charge for that. And so is there sort of a legal distinction there, or no?
Yeah, so all different type of content is going to vary. What's interesting about YouTube videos, which is why I think these tech companies feel like they can just get away with it, is 99% of you, maybe not 99%, but it's fair to say most YouTube videos don't register with the Copyright Office, right? You make a video, you post it online,
right.
That's it. That doesn't mean you don't have a copyright, but as Ethan probably knows, that you get additional rights once you register your video with the Copyright Office. I assume Disney and all of these big IP companies probably register all their videos prior to. What's interesting about YouTube videos is most videos aren't going to have a registered copyright. That doesn't mean that the creators don't have any rights in it. They have a copyright. And also what's specific about YouTube is YouTube's a very sophisticated platform. I mean, Google is a $1 trillion+ company, maybe multiple trillions of dollars. YouTube has very sophisticated technological protection measures to protect videos on YouTube. And the benefit of the bargain is you watch a video on YouTube, an ad plays, or if you're a YouTube Premium subscriber, an ad doesn't play, but either an ad plays or it doesn't, or you're paying YouTube. The creator whose video that you're watching makes money from that transaction. So it's free to watch on YouTube. That doesn't mean it's free to break the YouTube TPMs, pick the locks, and use it for your training. So,
and it's still commercial activity, even if the end user isn't the one paying for it. Somebody's paying for it.
Correct. And that's the thesis of our case. And, it is cutting edge. And, we've already seen in some filings that these companies these companies will come out and say, hey, it's free to view. How can we steal something that's free?
Right. Yeah. It is.
But the difference is so obvious, right?
Yeah.
The difference, of course, is that first of all, if you go to YouTube, there's no download button, right? YouTube explicitly, as Tom outlined, has this system. You come, you watch, it's free, but there's ways that people are compensated. It's a whole system, and it works.
And every view counts in the end towards a payment that the creator gets.
Essentially, right? So they're illegally, or they're violating the terms by being able to access these videos and download them. And not only that, they're not downloading 1 or 2 videos, right, for the purpose of commentary and criticism or something. They're massively downloading millions of videos,
scale,
feeding it
the
into an
scale-
automated system, right? And they're creating a new product, right? With that.
Yeah, the scale is so
crazy.
important.
Yeah.
We're talking about hundreds of millions of clips.
Wow.
that
80
we,
years per day.
Wow.
Yeah, we believe that they're automated systems using IP rotation.
Yeah, they have-
because YouTube will flag an account that it suspects suspicious activity from. So we believe that they're rotating IP addresses, which we have some evidence from the NVIDIA leaked messages.
So there's even like
They're
acts
really
of
like going the length to.
yeah. There's
to do it.
there's bad faith. We believe bad faith acts
that shows
that they are
circumventing
deceiving,
They
right?
know-
For their nefarious purpose.
Interesting.
They're rotating the IPs to sidestep Google's automated protections against people scraping all the videos,
Wow.
right? And so they know what they're doing. They know what they stand to gain from it. And they know what they stand to lose if they are forced to be accountable.
We believe they cannot make these products without hundreds of millions of clips, right? I mean, it's just
That's how it
That's
works.
just objectively
Yeah,
true,
everybody
yeah.
knows that.
right.
Yeah.
And so that data inherently has value. Obviously, these AI companies think they have value because they plan to commercialize their AI and make trillions of dollars.
Yeah, why aren't those free? Shouldn't those
Right,
be
so-
free by the same?
Right. So why aren't the creators whose content is being used to train being compensated?
So, what are these data sets? I I find them very interesting, and I know you can explain it better. There's various different data sets created that these big tech, and apparently they're how do you call it? Accessible to the public. What's the word?
Yeah, they're accessible to the public. You can just go download them.
Open source.
Open source.
I see.
And it's just like a massive document with timestamps and a description. Maybe we could show it. I don't know if you want. I find that whole thing interesting to pull up. For example, the one that we were looking at. It's got timestamps and a description and of what it is. It's really like 10-second timestamp, and it's like girl bouncing a ball. And it's got hundreds of thousands or millions of those. And so they take this document and they feed it into their system. And their system is the one doing these, what we believe are these, I don't know if circumventing the TOS and mass downloading these videos. So they're using these public open source roadmaps, right?
Right.
And
So what sort of descriptors did they have for clips of you, Ethan?
that's a great question. I wonder that.
That's
Can we
a
look?
good question.
And by the way,
Is it
People
like Jewish
Tourette's
guy
riddled lunatic
or
screams.
cough? The AI wants to learn how to cough. That's
Yeah.
Clownish, buffoonish man embarrasses
Actually,
himself
can
in
we look
front of
that up,
wife
Tom?
and
Wow.
friends.
Bold producer.
Bald
Bald
producer.
producer mocks buffoon.
We can absolutely look it up. It's in the data sets, but it would take some time.
So people are wondering, can YouTubers look up if they're in the data sets? And the answer is yes. There's actually a really handy website someone put together. What is that one?
That is a tool developed by Alex Reisner, who is an investigative journalist who's kind of at the forefront of everything. I don't know if that tool is public, but yeah, it might be behind a paywall.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, there is a
but
tool.
we
You type
have
in the
our own
YouTuber's
internal
name,
tools.
right? And it tells you how many times they appear in each one of these various dozen or so data sets, right? Dozen or plus data sets. It's not like hundreds of data sets, right? It's like 20 from what I've seen.
and yes.
Some bigger than
Probably,
others. Yeah.
20, 10, 20.
So, Tom, I have another question I'm curious about. As I was kind of Googling around about this stuff, I realized another area where this is very controversial is similar is with like the publishing industry with books and those being scanned for AI models and everything.
And art.
And there sort of is a parallel because there's a lot of free resources for free books on the internet, like digital libraries and stuff. And I have to imagine these companies are doing that. Are there is the publishing industry going after these companies too?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. They're different causes of action because publishers generally have their copyrights registered. And with our particular claim, and with our particular claim, we believe that the actual tort, the infringement, is how they're getting the data, which is by breaking the lock of YouTube and extracting the data that way.
Right.
There are other lawsuits. Like if you actually a recent $1.5 billion settlement was just announced. The defendant was Anthropic, who makes Claude, and that was for taking the publicly available pirated data set of, I think it was 300,000 copyrighted books. I think it's called either the Pile or LibGen 3 is the name of the data set, and they used it to train their LLMs, and they obviously settled that case. There are currently cases against OpenAI authors, NVIDIA for authors, and again, this is a separate track, right? We're trying to represent the track of YouTubers. There's also music industry cases that you see against Suno and Udio, which are two generative AI companies. There are image cases for just still images and other works of art against companies like Stability AI and some others. So this is obviously a very prolific, cutting-edge area of the law where a lot of rights holders, content creators of various forms, it just doesn't feel right. How can somebody take all of this data, make trillions of dollars, trillions with a T, that's how big they think this opportunity is, and not pay the underlying people who created the works that are needed to create the model.
Right.
And I know we use the word data in a very technical sense, but it's so much more than that. This is people's creative
their content,
output.
Their art.
This is people's art. This is people's livelihood. This is their soul. This is their being. And this is their human expression. This is what makes us unique and beautiful and interesting as people. And they're trying to harness the many millions of all of us that have put our hearts and souls into creating things and expressing ourselves into training, their own a soulless robot, to basically replace all of us.
Right, and even personally, I take more of a practical approach. I definitely see AI as a technology that's not going away. It's obviously the newest mousetrap. It's going to have a lot of great uses, I'm sure. But just from a economic point of view, if that data has value, which it clearly does, if a creator wants to sell the licensing rights to that data, then they should be able to. Right? Make it up to the creator. Let them, if they want to monetize their content in the way that they see fit, let them do it. But don't take the content without paying and then hope you don't get caught.
It's interesting.
It's just not right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's
like some sort of opt-in that when somebody uploads, they could say I'm willing for my video to be used for AI data training, and maybe you get kicked.
Or maybe NVIDIA they go, hey, YouTube. We need all these videos. I'm just spitballing. Anyone who wants to opt in will pay $5 to let us access an applicable video or something
Sure.
But it's very much a
certainly soften
ask for forgiveness before asking for permission type of approach, right? And the thing is, the stakes I don't think they've ever been higher. There's just so much at stake. It's just the human spirit is at stake. It's so much more than what I think most people can even fathom or understand. It's the human spirit.
It's the human spirit.
It
man.
is.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean,
I'm with you.
if in
I
20
understand.
years you already see the AI art, it's like, God damn, that's like immediately in 5 seconds it can make something that would have taken someone a day before.
Right. Yeah.
And if in 20 years, you would think, our creative endeavors will be the last thing we'll be able to be
Automated away.
eaten away by these AI machines. But it's not. It can be, and it is being, right? 20 years, it's going to watch every video ever made. It's going to look at every painting, every drawing ever made, read every book that's ever been written. It can, the algorithms can spit it out. They can do it. They can recreate it without a soul, without a thought. And, these people
Probably shouldn't do that.
right. And these people like NVIDIA and all these other companies that we're now suing who are using these data sets, I mean, they see the power that has, the money that has. They will be the new ruling class that is so far beyond any of us. They have the keys to creativity and human endeavor, and it's dangerous. It's scary.
What do we think about all birds?
I don't like birds. Kill them all.
That's
They're all fake. Wait, sorry, what? All birds?
yeah. I think they're the worst of the bunch. Did you hear about them? Do you know what all birds are?
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. It's a shoe company that just announced that they're pivoting to being an AI company now.
A shoe
What?
company?
A
Yeah.
shoe company.
How do you make that leap? I mean,
I don't know.
that you read the writing on the wall. You see the sneaker prints on the ground.
I was just reading about it this morning. It seemed very
What?
bizarre, and that seems to be the general reaction. So shout out to Allbirds, the newest contender in the AI wars. Tom, I have another question for you that actually came up from a chatter here that I thought is kind of interesting from Ali Bahare. Can Google use YouTube videos to train their AI like Gemini since they own YouTube? I thought that's an interesting angle.
Yeah. Subject to me changing my mind, probably yes.
Okay.
Which is why,
from a legal standpoint.
Correct.
It's their business.
And that makes sense because when you
They host
upload
it. They created this whole system for us to use. Right.
I guess I get that.
So, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if anyone would have a right, and I'm not saying they should have an unalienable right, I feel like that's like a different legal analysis.
Right,
But on that topic, the CEO of YouTube has come out in interviews and has been asked point blank. There's a Bloomberg article about this. That he's been asked point blank, if an AI company is scraping YouTube videos, what's YouTube's position on that? And he said that's absolutely against the terms of service. That violates the rules of the road. We do not allow that at YouTube.
Well, and there's a reason they're rotating their IPs, right? Presumably.
That is interesting, though.
Right.
I mean, that sounds pretty cut and dry.
But the thing is, even
CEO.
let's say YouTube has access to all the videos on YouTube, or Google has all the access on YouTube. That's one aspect of a business they've built and have that advantageous. But like that doesn't mean that they should have access also to like every book that's ever been written, or every song that's ever been written, or every
Right. Each track is completely separate, right?
The problem is these AI machines that NVIDIA and such they want to eat everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They really
just
wanna
YouTube
be like
videos
the
is just one aspect of their voracious appetite.
And that's kind of why I was asking about the other sort of media companies in the library and the book angle and all of that, because it just seems like these companies, with the way these LLM models have developed in the last few years, it's coming up against the entire institution of IP law. Like it's hitting it from so many angles simultaneously that it's it's redefining everything.
That's absolutely right, and that's why this is so cutting edge. If you look at the AI companies, they're trying to spin what they've done to try to retroactively fix, or justify their data aggregation methods. Mm-hmm. You hear a lot about the right to learn. We need a right to learn. Well, school isn't free, right? Even if you go to public school, that's paid by taxpayers, right? The teacher still needs a
There's a
living wage,
whole
right? The
a
books,
whole system supporting that.
Right.
Supporting that.
Yeah, and a
correct.
whole institution.
Yeah, there's a whole system
The right
supporting
to
that.
learn.
Us as taxpayers, we're paying money. Obviously, this is the example of a public school, but textbooks cost money. School takes a lot of energy and money. The right to learn, there's no right to learn for AI companies.
I sort of agree, but Tom, let me play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
If these AI companies are going to take over and rule society and everything, do we really want them homeschooled?
No, but we want them paying the people who they built their model on, right?
Yes. Okay, that's fair.
If AI is going to take all of our jobs, I mean, I can't log on to Twitter or Facebook or YouTube and hear about like, oh, lawyers are going to be extinct in 10 years because of how great ChatGPT is or whatever. And even though I might disagree with that, but certainly I think you're already seeing a lot of job
maybe in 20
displacement because of AI, and as AI gets better, like the idea that they can come in, take all of this data for free, not pay for it, make trillions of dollars, take money out of people's pockets because now there won't be as many jobs, and then say, oh, well, sorry, while a couple of people become trillionaires, it's laughable to me.
Yeah, the entire sort of medium-term game plan here doesn't seem to lead anywhere other than massive unemployment and disparity being made worse and worse. So that's sort of, I mean, I find the technology interesting too. And I see people in the chat. There's actually a lot of thoughtful commenters in the chat. I appreciate the
well, but this is a very,
I mean,
it's such an important issue that people are rightfully so worried about. If you're by the way, I don't have chat open, but if you're seeing any interesting comments, feel free to
I've been
field
seeing
them.
a few people going back and forth, and just in terms of, I even see some that are somewhat defending the AI companies, and I would be curious what you have to say to this, because I do see this argument a lot, is that, especially from the AI companies, they argue that all of this is a fundamental misunderstanding about how these models work, and that though, the input is this data from YouTube and everything, it's processed in such a way that it is inherently unrecognizable from the original product by the time that they get done with it, that they're not actually infringing on any copyright. Now, I always found that argument absurd, because it's like, well, then you don't need the video.
Stooge. That's a bot and from NVIDIA.
Well, I see a lot of people making this argument, though, and I'm not technical enough to know. I'm not a computer scientist, so I don't know exactly how the models work.
Yeah, well, you know what? When I eat a hamburger, it's a lot different than the shit that comes out of my ass. Okay? But it doesn't mean that I didn't eat a hamburger to get there.
Okay. Well, I'm curious what Tom thinks of that.
Yeah, as crass as that analogy was, that is kind of this case
right.
The YouTube case has absolutely nothing to do with fair use. It's about how they are getting the content.
Got it.
Okay.
Right.
So
really focusing on that.
It doesn't matter. That's like a red herring that these AI companies are trying to say, is like, hey, the outputs of the AI are not infringing works. Although that's not even technically true, because if you are reading a lot of the data, you can see that these AIs are outputting like with 90% word for word accuracy copyrighted books. Mm-hmm. But it's just it's just not the case. And this case is not about the outputs. This case is about how they got the data to create the system in the first place. Mm-hmm. And they didn't pay for it. Mm-hmm. They circumvented YouTube's TPMs in order to access the files at sometimes 80 years worth of video a day in order to aggregate what they needed to make trillions of dollars, or for their plans to make trillions of dollars.
I think I understand. You guys are making the argument, like, this case is as if, if a thief broke into a museum and stole a work of art and made a copy of the Mona Lisa and sold it, the case wouldn't be about, oh, you sold a copy. It's the fact that you broke into the museum and stole the Mona Lisa. That's the problem.
Dan, that's exactly right.
Okay. Yeah, I follow.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So it's
that is actually a good analogy because
technical stuff doesn't. It's kind of irrelevant. And
that is a really good analogy because if they just went and sat in the museum and studied it and drew it, that wouldn't be a problem. If they just screen recorded the videos, right, there'd be no problem.
Right.
It'd be impossible to do what they want, but there'd be no problem.
If all those views, you're saying AI is watching like 80 years worth of viewing in a day. If all those views actually counted towards the creator's views, there wouldn't be a problem, right? If there was actually like views that count and you get paid for them.
Right, Hila, but they physically can't with the such large amount of volume. Instead of sitting on top of the platform with a lawful vantage point and screen recording, like what Ethan was saying, and watching these videos, they couldn't do it because these data sets have centuries worth of videos on it. So, they would still be, if it would just take too long.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting that you guys are doing this. And again, it's
important.
I haven't really been on the loop with
a lot at stake.
Other than you just mentioning that it's happening, Ethan. So it's cool to finally hear what's happening. And
there's a lot at stake. Honestly, there is in this case and in general. And I mean, their main defense, as they've responded already one time, is they're trying to make this claim that if they lose, it would affect the little guy's opportunity to acquire videos to react to or comment to or to acquire for fair use. But it's laughable how different it is. It's obscene, actually. It's actually an obscene argument because the little guy are the ones who they're robbing from to sell to. And they're making this
there's that and
silly, ridiculous, almost insulting argument that like, well, if we lose, nobody will ever be able to get a YouTube video again to do a fair usage of, right, Tom, essentially?
Right, that's right. And again, our cause of action has nothing to do with fair use. But like if somebody's sitting on YouTube and, I do this a lot or did do it a lot, reacting with the screen recording or an OBS overlay, that is 100% something that then you would have to do a fair use analysis for, right? Just because you screen record something doesn't mean that it's automatically okay, right?
Different.
I'm sure as Ethan knows more than anybody, but then you could do the fair use analysis. But by systematically going through hundreds of millions of clips using an automated system with IP rotation, breaking into the home of YouTube, into the picking the lock of YouTube, so to speak, to access these files. That is the issue that we are taking up.
Yeah, right. They want to make it about fair use, but it's not about fair use at all. In fact, on its face, I feel like you could just feel and see how ridiculous that argument is. Be like, oh, this is about fair use. No, it's not. Shut up, NVIDIA.
Now, you said it started with NVIDIA, but it's not staying as just NVIDIA. Is that right?
So far, we have sued NVIDIA, Meta, ByteDance, Snap, Amazon, OpenAI, and Apple.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And that's not all, folks, or that is all, folks.
So just like 30% of the GDP of the world economy.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly. You mean exactly the type of people that can afford to frickin' pay for the data,
That's
right?
true, exactly. Right.
Are we adding more? Or it remains to be seen, I guess. No comment.
No comment.
Yeah.
Comment. Okay.
But they keep listen, we keep adding them. So
we keep adding them.
No comment.
Well, the thing is, essentially, when we're able to see, like, oh, did this company use one of these data sets, right, to train its AI, essentially, then we say, oh, okay, well, Bob's your uncle, as the English like to say. They say that over there, innit? Anyway.